My name is Sebastian Mitchell, but everyone calls me Alex. I never thought I'd find myself falling for a member of our university's football team, but life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. I'm a junior at Westbrook University majoring in journalism. As part of my coursework, I was assigned to cover the university's football team for the school newspaper. That's how I met Owen Cooper, star quarterback, campus celebrity, and the person who would completely turn my world upside down. I remember our first meeting clearly. It was a crisp September afternoon, and I was waiting outside the locker room to conduct interviews. After practice, players filed past me, most barely sparing me a glance. Then Owen emerged, still in his practice gear, his dark hair damp with sweat. "You must be from the paper," he said, flashing a smile that made my heart skip. "Coach mentioned you'd be around." "Yeah, I'm Alex," I managed, trying to maintain my professional composure. "Would you have time for a few questions?" "Sure, but can we walk? I need to grab coffee before my evening class." That first interview turned into a 40-minute conversation. Owen was nothing like I'd expected. Despite his status as the team star player, he was surprisingly down to earth. We talked about the upcoming season, but also about his environmental science major, his family in Colorado, and his love for classic literature, something that completely caught me off guard. "Most people assume I'm just a dumb jock," he admitted as we reached the campus coffee shop. "It's kind of refreshing to have a real conversation." I was about to respond when one of his teammates called out to him from across the quad. "Cooper, team meeting in 10. Sorry. Duty calls," Owen said apologetically, "but hey, I enjoyed talking with you. Maybe we could do this again." I nodded, probably too eagerly. "I'll need follow-up interviews for the article anyway, right?" "The article," he smiled. "See you around, Alex." I watched him jog away, trying to ignore the flutter in my stomach. This was strictly professional. I told myself I was a journalist working on a story. The fact that Owen Cooper had the most beautiful green eyes I'd ever seen was completely irrelevant. Over the next few weeks, our interviews became regular occurrences. Owen would often suggest walking interviews, and we'd circle the campus while talking about everything from game strategies to his favorite books. Sometimes we'd end up at the coffee shop where he'd insist on buying my drink despite my protests. "Consider it payment for making me sound good in your articles," he'd say with a wink. Those articles were becoming increasingly difficult to write. How could I maintain journalistic objectivity when my heart raced every time he smiled at me? How could I describe his playing style without revealing how much I admired the way he moved on the field? One evening, after a particularly grueling practice, Owen suggested we grab dinner instead of our usual coffee. "I'm starving, and there's this great place off campus," he said. "Unless you're busy." "No, not busy," I replied, ignoring the voice in my head screaming that this was dangerous territory. "Thai sounds good." The Thai restaurant was small and intimate, tucked away in a quiet corner of town. We sat in a booth near the back, and for the first time our conversation had nothing to do with football or my articles. "So, why journalism?" Owen asked, his eyes reflecting the warm glow of the lantern hanging above our table. "I've always loved telling stories," I explained, "finding the truth beneath the surface, helping people understand different perspectives." I hesitated before adding, "Plus it gives me an excuse to talk to interesting people." He caught my eye and smiled. "Am I interesting enough for you?" The question hung in the air between us, loaded with potential meaning. Before I could respond, our food arrived, breaking the moment as we ate. Owen told me about growing up in Colorado, about coming out to his family during his senior year of high school. They were surprisingly cool about it, he said. "My dad just asked if I was still playing football when I said yes." He shrugged and said, "Then nothing's changed." I nearly choked on my pad thai. "You're out to my family in close friends?" "Yeah." He studied my reaction carefully. "Not to the team, though." "Not yet." "Yet, but you're telling me." He sat down his fork. "I think we both know this isn't just another interview, Alex." My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. "Owen, I see the way you look at me sometimes," he continued softly. "When you think I'm not paying attention, it's the same way I look at you." I stared at My plate unable to meet his eyes. I can't. Write about the team if there's something between us, it would be a conflict of interest, then don't write. About the team. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. Write about something else. That simple touch sent electricity through my entire body. It's not that simple, I protested weakly. It could be. His hand was still on mine. Look at me, Alex, I did, and the intensity in his eyes took my breath away. I like you, he said. Simply, I think you like me too. Everything else, the team, the paper, what? People might think. We can figure that out later. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it and grimaced. Team meeting, coach likes to spring these on us last minute. We split the bill, despite his protests, and walked back to campus. Together, the night air was cool and our shoulders kept brushing as we walked. Outside the athletics building, Owen turned to me. Think about what I said, he asked softly. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak good. He glanced around quickly, then leaned in and pressed a quick kiss to my cheek. Good night, Alex. I stood there long after he disappeared into the building, my cheek burning where his lips had touched it. That night I barely slept, my mind replaying every moment of our dinner, every casual touch, every loaded glance. The next morning I went to my editor and asked to be reassigned. When she asked why, I just said I wanted to explore other stories. She gave me a knowing look, but didn't press for details. Owen texted me later that day, heard you gave up the sports beat dinner again tonight. I stared at my phone for a long time before replying yes. Our second dinner was different, without the pretense of an interview or professional obligations. The air between us crackled with possibility. We went to a small Italian restaurant this time, and Owen chose a secluded corner booth, so he said after we'd ordered, no more journalist-athlete dynamic, just us. I echoed, both thrilled and terrified by the implication. As we talked, Owen gradually moved closer in the booth until our thighs were touching. Every small contact sent sparks through my body. When his hand found mine under the table, I couldn't help but intertwine our fingers. Would you like to come back to my place after dinner, he asked softly. My roommate's away for the weekend. I hesitated. Won't your teammates notice if I'm there? I have my own apartment off campus, he explained, being the starty NG quarterback has some perks. I agreed, trying to calm my racing heart. The drive to his apartment was quiet, filled with anticipation. His place was surprisingly neat for a college athlete, with floor to ceiling windows offering a view of the city. Make yourself comfortable, he said, gesturing to the couch. Want something to drink? I sat down, watching as he moved around the kitchen. He returned with 2 glasses of water, sitting close enough that our knees touched. Alex, he said, softly turning to face me, I'm going to kiss you now, if that's okay. I nodded, and then his lips were on mine. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, but quickly deepened as months of suppressed attraction surfaced. His hand ced my face, and I found myself pressing closer, wanting more. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing heavily. Owen rested his forehead against mine, his thumb tracing my jawline. I've wanted to do that since our first interview, he admitted. Really, he laughed softly. You have no idea how distracting you were, sitting there with your notebook, biting your lip when you were concentrating. I kept messing up my answers because I couldn't stop staring at your mouth. I blushed, remembering how many times I'd had to ask him to repeat himself during those interviews. I thought I was being professional. You were adorably professional, he said, pulling me closer. It made me want to mess up your composure. We spent hours on that couch, talking and kissing, learning each other's bodies in slow, careful increments. Owen told me about his fears of coming out to the team, about the pressure of being the star quarterback, about his dreams beyond football. I shared my own insecurities, my passion for writing, my complicated relationship with my conservative family. It was past midnight when I finally said I should go. Owen walked me to the door, pulling me in for one more kiss that left me dizzy. Can I take you on a proper date tomorrow, he asked. There's this art gallery opening downtown. You like art? He grinned. I like you, and I want to do this right. The next few weeks were a blur of secret dates and stolen moments. We went to movies, choosing back row seats where we could hold hands in the darkness. We had picnics in secluded spots on campus, and late-night drives where Owen would park somewhere quiet and we'd talk for hours, but we had to be careful in public. We maintained a casual friendship. Owen would acknowledge me with a nod if we passed on campus, but nothing more. It hurt sometimes, but I understood the necessity. Everything changed during the homecoming game. Owen was playing brilliantly, leading the team to what looked like a certain victory. Then in the fourth quarter, he took a brutal hit. The stadium went silent as he lay motionless on the field. I watched from the stands, my heart in my throat, fighting the urge to run onto the field. The medical team helped him up eventually, but he was limping badly as they led him to the sidelines. The backup quarterback finished the game, but I barely noticed the final score. After texting Owen repeatedly with no response, I finally went to his apartment. I found him sitting on his couch, his knee wrapped in ice, looking dejected. "Hey," he said softly when he saw me. "Sorry I didn't respond. My phone's been blowing up with messages from the team and my family." I sat beside him carefully. "How bad is it?" "Bad enough. Torn ACL, season's over for me." His voice cracked slightly. "And probably my shot at the NFL draft." Without thinking, I pulled him into my arms. He buried his face in my neck, and I felt his shoulders shake as he finally let himself break down. "I've worked so hard," he whispered. "Everything I've done for the past 10 years has been building to this, and now this isn't the end," I said firmly, running my fingers through his hair. "You'll recover. You'll come back stronger." He lifted his head to look at me, his eyes red. "What if I don't want to?" "What do you mean?" "What if?" He took a deep breath. "What if this is a sign that maybe it's time to stop hiding, to live my life the way I want to?" Before I could respond, there was a knock at the door. Owen tensed. "Cooper, you in there?" It was Marcus, one of his teammates. Owen looked at me panicked. I started to get up, looking for somewhere to hide, but he grabbed my hand. "No," he said quietly. "Stay, Owen. I'm done hiding." He called out, "Come in." Marcus and two other players walked in, stopping short when they saw us on the couch, our hands still linked. "Oh," Marcus said. "Oh, yeah," Owen said, his voice steady despite his tight grip on my hand. "This is Alex. He's my boyfriend." The silence that followed felt eternal. I watched the players' faces cycle through surprise, confusion, and something I couldn't quite read. Finally, Marcus spoke. "How long?" "A couple months," Owen answered. "I was going to tell you guys. I just needed time." Marcus finished. He ran a hand over his face. "Well, this explains why you turned down all those cheerleaders." One of the other players, Tom, stepped forward. "You know this doesn't change anything, right? You're still our quarterback, still our friend." "Ex-quarterback," Owen said, bitterly gesturing to his knee. "Temporary ex-quarterback," Marcus corrected. "You'll be back next season and we'll need you." He paused. "Both of you, I guess, since I'm assuming Alex comes as part of the package." Now I felt tears pricking at my eyes as Owen squeezed my hand. "Yeah, he does." The players stayed for a while, talking about the game and Owen's injury. They were careful to include me in the conversation, asking about my studies and how Owen and I met. When they left, Marcus hung back. "Hey, Cooper, the team's got your back, okay? Anyone gives you about this, they answer to us." After the players left, Owen pulled me close, letting out a shaky breath. "I can't believe I just did that. Are you okay?" I asked, stroking his back. "Better than okay," he smiled. "I feel free." He kissed me deeply, then winced as he shifted his injured knee. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. News of Owen's injury made the campus paper, but it was overshadowed by the quiet ripples of another story. The star quarterback was dating a guy. Some people were surprised. Others claimed they'd always suspected, but most simply didn't care. The team, true to Marcus' word, had our backs. They invited me to their parties and study sessions, treating me like I'd always been part of their circle. Owen started physical therapy, and I went with him too. Every session, watching him work through the pain with determination. One evening, as we were leaving the clinic, Owen turned to me. "Move in with me." "What move in with me?" he repeated. "Your lease is up next month anyway, and you practically live at my place already." He was right. I'd been spending most nights at his apartment, only returning to my dorm to grab clothes or books. "Are you sure?" I asked. "It's a big step." He stopped walking and turned to face me. "Alex, I love you. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to make coffee for you and watch you write at The kitchen table, I want this to be real. Completely real, it was the first time either of us had said I love you. My heart felt like it might burst. I love you too, I whispered, pulling him into a kiss right there in the parking lot. Moving in together was both easier and harder than we expected. Easy because we already knew each other's habits, and routines hard because we had to learn to navigate shared space and responsibilities. Owen was surprisingly neat for an athlete, while I had a tendency to leave books and papers everywhere, but we made it work. I set up a small office space in the corner of the living room where I could write while Owen did his physical therapy exercises. He learned to cook, sort of, and I learned to appreciate football strategy as he explained plays to me during games. One Sunday morning, about 6 months after I moved in, I woke up to find Owen already awake, watching me. Creepy much, I mumbled, snuggling closer to him. Just thinking, he said, running his fingers through my hair. What about how different my life would be if I hadn't met you, if I hadn't been brave enough to tell you how I felt. I propped myself up on an elbow. Different, better, or different, worse? Definitely worse. He pulled me down for a kiss. I might still be playing football, might even be heading for the NFL draft, but I'd be living a lie. Now I get to be myself completely and honestly, and I get to be with you. His knee had healed well, but he decided not to return to football. Instead, he'd switched his focus to environmental science, planning to work in conservation. After graduation, I'd never seen him happier. The team's having a barbecue later, he said. Want to go? Will Marcus be making those awful burgers again? Probably, but Tom's bringing his famous potato salad. I'm in. The barbecue was at Marcus's house, and as we walked in hand, I couldn't help but marvel at how much had changed. A year ago, I would never have imagined being so openly comfortable at a football team gathering. There's the happy couple, Marcus called out, waving his spatula. Cooper, tell your boyfriend I'm not taking criticism about my burgers today. Owen laughed. Alex, be nice about the burgers. No promises, I teased, accepting a beer from Tom. The afternoon was perfect, warm sunshine, good food despite Marcus's cooking, and better company. I watched Owen joking with his former teammates, his smile bright and genuine. He caught me looking and winked, making my heart flutter just like it had during that first interview. Later, as the sun was setting, we sat together on Marcus' porch swing. Owen had his arm around me and I was leaning into his warmth. Remember when we used to pretend we were just friends at these things? He asked. You mean when you'd sit across the yard and we'd try not to stare at each other? Yeah, that was fun, he chuckled. We weren't very subtle. Marcus told me later that half the team had figured it out before I officially came out. Really? Apparently, and I quote, nobody looks at their journalists like that. Cooper, I laughed, remembering all those carefully orchestrated interviews that had really been excuses to spend time together. You know, Owen said thoughtfully, I never thanked you properly for what? For giving me the courage to be myself, for being patient when I was scared, for loving me through all of it. I turned to face him. You don't need to thank me for that. You did the same for me. He raised an eyebrow. How so, Owen? Before I met you, I was just going through the motions, writing safe stories, keeping to myself, never taking risks. You taught me that sometimes the scariest choices lead to the best outcomes. He pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my temple. We taught each other then, I guess we did. Inside, someone started playing music. The sounds of laughter and conversation drifted out to us, but we stayed where we were. Content in our quiet moment. Moved to Colorado with me after graduation, Owen said suddenly. I sat up straighter. What? I got offered a position with a conservation group in Boulder. It's perfect. They're doing amazing work protecting wildlife habitats, and there are tons of magazines and papers. You could write environmental stories, political pieces, whatever you want. You're serious? Complete. He took my hands in his. I know it's a big ask, but I can't imagine my future without you in it, Alex. Whatever comes next, I want us to face it together. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the man who'd changed my life in so many ways, who'd shown me what real courage looked like, who'd loved me without reservation once he allowed himself to do so. Yes, I said simply. His face lit up. Yes, yes to Colorado, yes to everything. Yes to us he pulled me into a kiss and I could feel him smile smiling against my lips. Get a room you two, Marcus called from inside, making us both laugh later. That night lying in bed in our apartment, Owen traced patterns on my skin as we talked about our future, about the mountains in Colorado, about the stories we'd write and tell, about the life we'd build together. I thought about that nervous journalism student waiting outside the locker room and the quarterback who'd stopped to talk to him. How neither of us could have known that moment would change everything. Sometimes the best stories are the ones you never expected to tell. Sometimes the most important journeys begin with a simple interview. And sometimes love finds you when you're busy making other plans. Owen pulled me closer, already half asleep. Love you, he mumbled. Love you too, I whispered back, knowing that whatever came next we'd face it together.